Welcome to Vassals of Kingsgrave. Joining us for our 15th episode of our linear reread through A Song of Ice and Fire. Today we will be covering January 22nd of 299 through January 26th of 299. It's a short period, but it closes out the book. We've finally made it. I'm your host for today, Adam, also known as Drowned Snow on the Podcast of Ice and Fire forums, and I am joined today by...
Brett, White Raven on the forums.
Matt Varley on the forums.
Tanja, Silence on the forums.
So Patrick the Toll on the forums. Patrick in real life.
Hello everyone, this is Nadia. Nadia on the forums.
Jack, it rhymes with sleek on the forums.
Claire, Dark Sister 24 on the forums.
And Steve on the forums.
Okay, so let's start with you, Claire. Tell us a little bit about yourself, how you found us, and how you got into the Song of Ice and Fire.
I think I got into the show first, and I think this was during the break between season 2 and season 3, and I kind of binge watched everything during the summer, got all my friends into it, and then I think I found you guys on YouTube actually. And then I just kind of binge watched everything that you guys had on your YouTube page.
YouTuber.
Yeah,
YouTube.
YouTube.
A lot of YouTube people lately.
Yeah, and then
what attracted you to us through the? What was it on the YouTube that attracted you to our podcast?
Were we just some recommended video?
Or was it Patrick?
I genuinely don't even remember how I first clicked on the video, but I did, and then I just think a lot of the things that you guys talked about and a lot of the things that you pointed out, there were things that I had just been oh my gosh, I saw that, yeah. So, and then it kind of got me to read. I found your WordPress website, and then I listened to everything that you guys had on there. So yeah.
And who's your favorite character?
In the beginning, mainly because of the show, it was Dany, I think, and then I kind of realized how annoying she was, and then it just became Arya, because I'd like to imagine that that's how I would handle a situation, just become an assassin, kill everybody.
Don't we all?
That's how you would prefer to become a sociopath instead of a.
I'm that type of person, I will watch a TV show and I will get really worked up and be I'm killing everybody, I know this isn't real life, but if I could just get my hands on you, I would kill you.
Yeah,
so, let's maybe not meet when you're in London next time.
It's only if I don't like the person, so.
Alright.
Okay. Excellent. So, and our other newcomer, Jack, just tell us a little about yourself. You've been on a couple VOKs this week, but it's your first time here on the reread.
Yeah, I had a friend give me the first Game of Thrones book, and I read it in about one sitting, and I loved it. And then right after that, I got a couple brain injuries, and I couldn't read for years because my eyes wouldn't focus properly. So I listened to Roy Dotrice read the books for me, and I finished them in about I don't know, maybe 4 months, even though they're 48-hour audiobooks. And then I was on YouTube just watching some videos, I think probably Preston Jacobs, and it must have linked to one of your videos, because I remember the very first one that I saw was the Linear Reread Part 1, and I just got hooked, and I went to your site and the forums, and I watched a whole bunch of the Podcast of Ice and Fire and a whole bunch of VOKs, and it was pretty good.
Awesome. I think the takeaway here is that Roy Dotrice, that's the way to go, right, guys?
yeah, I listened to him.
Oh, Pyre.
Yeah, I listened to him.
It's hard.
But we love the audiobooks. Who's your favorite character, Jack?
Oh boy. I really like Fagon.
Oh, nice.
He's pretty cool. I actually really like Stannis too. I want to see one of them on the throne, because they're the only two people that actually seem to give a crap about the people and not just themselves.
So is that the first we've heard that? Fagon, I mean? Is that the first...
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, one of the first.
Trendsetter.
No, that's been a thing for a while.
Who's your favorite podcaster then? Who's your favorite podcaster? Is it me?
Is it Patrick?
It's Patrick, right?
You don't have to say White Raven.
It's
You just
always
say Patrick. Yeah, good. You just say Patrick. You don't have to say White Raven. I mean, just to make. You don't have to inflate his ego even more. So just inflate my ego instead.
Actually, I think of all of the people, White Raven's Moondragons thing definitely got me into it pretty well, but I just got to say Bina's voice. God damn.
I
It's
know,
like the
right?
perfect podcasting voice.
Yeah.
I love
All right, I've been muted this whole time.
Hey.
Wow, it was going so well.
I can tell because I hear all the birds that are around you right now.
Yeah.
Welcome, Varley's birds. Okay.
Sounds like he's in
Little
high garden.
bird.
Awesome. So, I'm assuming that you had a lot of really insightful things to say, Matt, and we all react to them appropriately in another universe, and we can all move
Right.
on.
Probably said beavers a lot.
Beavers.
No, I just thought Phagon was interesting.
Yeah, it's an interesting choice for sure. For sure. So I
That's
don't
all.
know. Yeah, he'll die
Alright,
soon.
let's roll.
It's alright, he'll be dead.
Yeah.
So, let's get into this.
No.
Okay, so we've got, let's see, our first chapter here is Dany 9, the second to last chapter, and where we find Dany having her fever dream, and she wakes up to basically a different world. So, I believe that...
whole new world.
Don't do that.
Oh, boy. I believe Claire has a recap for us on that.
Yeah. So, Dany dreams of walking down a long hall of stone with a red door at the end. She has visions of being held by Khal Drogo in the Dothraki Sea, and Ser Jorah continuously popping up saying Rhaegar was the last dragon. I think the most disturbing thing is Viserys popping up and attacking her whilst being killed, and then his hands turning into snakes that bite her nipples. She sees visions of previous kings and begins to I kind of saw it as her breaking out of her skin and flying. She wakes up and all she wants to do is cuddle some dragon eggs. She asks if Drogo is alive and her servants just say he lives. But when she asks about her son, everyone's really afraid to tell her what happened, which is that he's dead. But Miri Mazdur just kind of blurts out without any hesitation with a really gruesome description of his deformed body. Meanwhile, while this is all happening, Dany notices that the dragon eggs feel hot to the touch, but nobody else notices. Dany comes to the conclusion that although he didn't mean to, Ser Jorah ultimately killed her son by taking her into the tent. Miri Mazdur finally reveals that this was kind of her plan all along, and that even though Dany technically saved her, she was basically kind of saw herself as dead already since the people she knew were killed, and that she had been raped numerous times by other riders before Dany even noticed her. Then we have Dany realizing that although Drogo is technically alive, he is basically kind of brain dead, and asks Miri Mazdur when he'll be normal again, which this is where we get the famous quote. And then Dany tries to kind of arouse Drogo, but realizes that he's never really coming back, and then she suffocates him.
This is a great, fun chapter, is it not?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Oh, so I think we get there's some graphic stuff in the dream there, which is really creepy, and then when we wake up, we see Miri Mazdur for kind of what she really is. And we kind of hate her, but at the same time, and I think like Bina points out in the notes here, like she makes kind of a convincing argument of how she
like
was
a mic drop.
treated,
It's like...
and the stallion that mounts the world, fuck that guy. He's just gonna do more than that. like she's bad in a way because we know Dany is good and like not intending all this stuff, but she's also kind of part of that whole system of what Drogo's men were doing. So it's hard to completely hate her, but yeah, I don't know. What do we think?
I love her line, like, look at your Carl and see what life is worth when everything else is gone. It's like the best line from her to me. She's like, I gave you life, and she's like, What is life when everything else is gone? It doesn't matter. That's what you get right there.
Right.
And that's perfect.
You're living, you're breathing, but nothing else. Like, it's great.
It just I think when I read this bit, it just reminded me of, I think she mentions it as well when Dany asks about the slave girl that she saved, and then we kind of find out that, you saved her, but her fate now is just kind of worse than it was before.
Yeah. You saved her, and now she's been passed around to 20 different men and, like, ritually killed. Like, ugh.
Do you guys think Dany will make good on her promise that Mago and Code Jacko, or whatever, will die screaming?
Let's hope so.
I completely forgot about them, so...
Yeah.
Well, she just met a Khalasar with her dragon in the middle of the Dothraki Sea, so...
By just met, you mean 5 years ago?
Yeah.
Oh god, it was 5 years ago.
The most recent thing that we know of her.
Yeah.
When a novel
I really
hasn't
think,
been published, time stands still, Matt.
Yeah. I think this chapter really shows off kind of like the House of the Undying, like George's like horror writing ability.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I think this was the main, chapter that actually I kind of began to really like Dany again, because like just the way she describes things, and she like the love that she has for Drogo, even though I don't know, she technically just met him like a couple months ago or whatever, but like she still just really cares about him, and the way that she kind of kills him in a way, like it gave me feels. So
it's been more than a year. 'Cause, I mean, she took a pregnancy almost to the end, so it's been a while.
Yeah.
It's enough to be heartbreaking. I mean, she took this guy who, I mean, this was basically a business relationship, and she kind of taught him how to love in, kind of a stereotypical way, right? And then when she recalls, like, when they conceive their child, with the whole Khalasar around them and all this stuff, and she's just, everything's like very romantic and beautiful, and it's like, and then she suffocates him, and it's so heartbreaking.
I wanted to talk about how she killed him, because I had never noticed this in any of my reading before, but do you think that might be the parallel to Azor Ahai killing Nissa? Because she kills Drogo to make the dragons.
Oh, that's interesting.
Unintentionally,
Yeah.
maybe, yeah.
So maybe the dragons are Lightbringer, and Drogo is her love.
Maybe it was like her emotional state kind of put her in tune, and she felt the eggs were hot and all that, and there's some sort of, maybe it's just like some old magic that Valyrians knew that would have brought these eggs out, and somehow she
Not
just
the old
happened.
magic. The comet's back.
Yeah.
And
I don't really know if that's much of a sacrifice at that point, though, because he is pretty much gone already anyway, right?
Well,
so it's not like...
But like as far as like magical elements, we don't know how magic works in this world really. But what if it just happens to be she combined a few things by chance?
Well, and the eggs only are mentioned as getting really hot after Drogo gets vegified.
Yeah, are they? I thought she felt them as warm when she woke up.
It's when she wakes up, and he. Well,
they're warm to her touch, but Jara can't feel it. He says they're cold stone.
Yeah.
Right, it's a personal thing. But after she wakes up is after Drogo's already been.
He's already been
vegified.
turned.
Vegified. Yeah.
So I'm saying that instead of Drogo literally dying being the killing of her love, it was the way that she described it, that Drogo's not really living.
Oh, and it was the initial thing that Mir Mazdor did, you mean?
Yeah, and that's what woke up the dragons, which are Lightbringer. That's my theory.
I don't know. I think, you're allowed to have your theory, but I think it.
How generous of you.
Thank you.
Well, I am generous at sometimes, but
You said he was your favorite podcaster.
If you send Patrick $20, you can think anything you want.
Yeah. Then we'll gladly let you think whatever you want to. But back to the point. The point is, as we've read in World of Ice and Fire, a lot of the Targaryen children got eggs in their cribs so that they could connect to the egg, and it wouldn't hatch unless it kind of,
Bonded to them.
was with them for a while. So I'm kind of thinking that while she had him on her trip, she didn't really awake as a Targaryen before, like, right then when she was exposed to the ritual and whatever, and that's essentially what connected her to the eggs, that sparked the connection to the eggs, which then put up the situation where she then sacrificed a person to get them to hatch, essentially.
I think
Sort of get the last bit in there.
I think she mentions, though, earlier in the books having a lot of connection with the eggs. She gradually gets more and more obsessed with them, but she doesn't feel them getting warm until after the shadow dancing thing.
Yeah, but
right. She puts them in a brazier at some point, right?
Right, and it doesn't work.
It doesn't work because she doesn't have the connection. The bond has not formed completely yet. As it's a long time before dragonlings hatch from when they put in the crib, right? So I'm just thinking it might just be that she finally forged the connection to the eggs mentally or whatever.
I think some of it has to do with the comet.
That too.
Yeah, I mean, you guys can think whatever you want, but it's all about the king's blood, baby. Dany's got 3 eggs, and she's been present with the eggs for the death of 3 Khals.
Yes.
What?
That's true.
Yeah.
Are you talking about the one that he killed?
Yeah. Drogo kills 2 Khals, and then she kills Drogo, so that's 3 dead Khals, 3 dragon's eggs. Bam. There you go.
Did she roll them in the blood of the villain?
But before that, wouldn't the eggs then have reacted to the other Khals? I mean, one of the eggs might have started hatching before that. I mean,
I don't think it actually had anything to do with those 2 other Khals.
Yeah, Patrick, stop being ignorant.
She's actually seen 4 kings die.
Don't say Viserys. Don't say Viserys.
Oh boy.
Viserys? Although
He died too, and he should have king's blood.
yeah.
Oh,
Unless
come
you
on.
think he's a bastard.
He was no true dragon. Let's be honest.
No, but he was still royal blood.
The king's blood thing is so nebulous, right? Because it's like, who has it, who doesn't? Like, someone just calls themselves a king and they're not really recognized. Oh, and now they have king's blood. Like, I don't know. There's the rules on that are a little sketchy.
Unless it's you know, and I don't know how we would get confirmation of this, but it could be a sort of world building thing in the background. Like, king's blood could be a real thing that isn't actually related to being king. It could be certain family lineages, you know, but how's the reader ever going to find that out?
Like, it's tarred blood, not king's blood, and that's why it works with Stannis.
Yeah,
I thought it was.
Yeah.
Harry's described it as power is just wherever people think power is.
Yeah, exactly.
it's the shadow on the wall.
I was about to say that because we talked about this before with the horse. I mean, what was the reason why she wanted to sacrifice the horse? Maybe it's because the horse has a higher meaning in this society in the Khalasar than it would anywhere else. So it actually might have some potency here because so many people revere the horse in the Khalasar. So that's essentially what I'm thinking, that if a person is proclaimed king and a lot of people believe that he is a king, then he would have king's blood in the sense that it gets special powers because of their belief.
The belief helps create the power. That makes sense.
Is the king's horse the king of horses?
No, that's Shadowfax. Anyway.
Yeah, true story.
All right, so do we have anything else to say about this chapter, or do we want to move on to the next Dany chapter?
I had noticed when Miri is talking to Dany and Jorah in the tent, she's talking about, you know, you went into the tent, no living man should go and feed her baby to the darkness. He knew it too, And then she says, the shadows have touched you too, Ser Jorah, she told him. Like when she's talking about the shadows touched the baby, the shadows touched him too, and I thought,
maybe this is George's horror writing coming through in here, but it felt like something was up with Jorah in that scene. Like maybe back when this was planned as a trilogy, this was going to go somewhere. Dany describes Jorah's hands as being like strangely translucent in that same scene, that the shadows have touched him, and like some sort of spooky mumbo jumbo going on about Jorah, but we don't see it go anywhere over the next 4 books.
Something
Did
about his
anybody
skin.
else catch that?
Yeah.
I thought
Weird.
I just assumed he went pale.
Well, he's
Because
hurt. He
like-
lost a lot of blood.
Yeah, he is
his-
real hurt right now too.
His leg takes a while to heal,
Hmm.
right?
But she's
It's
been
his leg
asleep
that-
for a
But
long
that
time.
scene,
so-
she sees him sort of fade away, which was very creepy.
Yeah.
How do you guys think this Khalasar is surviving? Like, she said she was asleep for a long time,
She was up for a while.
and it's not like they have a lot of resources, because I assume the other Khals took all the resources with them. So it's strange that they're even surviving.
No, I mean they still have a small herd. They still I'm sure that they had enough food in stores. Just kind of people protected their own shit. But she said it was mostly kind of the lame and the weaker people that were left behind. And I doubt that in this situation where you go from one giant Khalasar to what did you say, like 15 or something rolling around now?
Yeah, there wasn't many people.
Yeah, they're busy. They're busy fighting with each other, worrying about each other. They're and like little people were breaking off in the middle of the night. They weren't wanting to start fights. They were wanting to get off on their own. So a lot of stuff probably got left behind.
Though the thing is, we don't get a definition of how long. Like, Dany's servant tells her she's been asleep for a long time, but in the span of fever dreams, a couple days is a long time to be out having fever dreams. Like, we don't have any idea how long she was out.
Yeah.
True.
Yeah, but I got the impression that it was a few nights. Maybe a week, maybe.
Do you guys get the impression that Dothraki culture would allow lame people to live?
No, I thought it was really weird that anybody was left behind.
I think if they can provide a purpose, they're not going to they're going to sit in the back.
Well, I mean, think about it though. Is the Khalasar has kind of their camp followers, and it has people. People got to cook. People got to do the jobs they don't want to. They got slaves. They've got. Are they just going to spend all this time going and murdering the slaves they don't want to take with them? No, they're about getting to the next territory before the newest call gets there first, right?
Well, I don't think they would kill those. I don't think they'd kill those slaves before leaving. It would more be like, okay, the Khalasar is rolling out. Nobody gets to stay behind with Daenerys, and if you can't keep up, you get murdered on the road.
I didn't think they'd go through the trouble of murdering people. I thought they'd just leave you.
Yeah, you're dead in the waste anyway.
Keep up.
They just get left behind, but so soon that they turn around and stick with Daenerys. I guess that could be it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, out of respect,
But
you see that some people stayed behind, so I would imagine that there'd be enough people that, out of respect for Drogo and what he was, and for Dany, they're gonna leave that party behind, because she still has to be taken to Vaes Dothrak. At least that's what most of them think. So they're not, right.
That's
they
true.
need a party behind to do that.
And then plus his blood riders, right?
Yeah.
Who become Dany's blood riders?
And they're supposed to.
No, that's her own. That's her own thing. That they exist before.
Most of
before
his
then,
blood
right?
riders
Because
all run off.
Yeah, his blood riders name themselves Khals, and they.
Which aren't they supposed to avenge? They didn't kill Miri Mazur.
Well, but he didn't.
Aren't
die,
they supposed to avenge the person that?
Do you think maybe they just said, "Oh, fuck him. He didn't go out. He didn't go out on the Fury Road. So I'm doing my own thing now."
Yeah, I think that's it. They lose all their respect for him because
Once
of the
he
way
falls
that he
off his
dies.
horse.
I mean,
once he
that's what it
falls
says,
off
is
his
that,
horse.
They're supposed to die with him,
someone
right?
who can't ride. Yeah.
Yeah.
And they must be
little bitches, and they're like, "Yeah, we're taking your Khalasar."
Yeah. They must be scared shitless of Miri also, because they before Drogo is dead, all they want to do is murder her. And then Daenerys wakes up
or rape her
an unspecified amount of time later, and Miri Mazdur is running the show in this new slave only Khalasar.
Looks that way.
She's not really running the show, but they were. I think they were.
Well, I mean, until Dany wakes up,
figure out what to do, because Drogo's fucked up. They're like, "Hey, what's going on?" Maybe they thought she could help.
Yeah.
Hi, I think I'm back.
Yay!
Tanya's back.
Oh, hey.
Yay!
Let's move on to Dany 10 here. You ready, Nadia?
I am ready, but there's a toddler running around the background, so I can't promise silence.
That's okay.
Let
Oh,
the
boy.
toddler do the reading.
That would be
Even
amazing.
silence can't promise silence.
Yeah, that's true.
Wow. Nice goal.
Well, I was fairly quiet for a while I wasn't on the call, so.
No, but you can't promise that you would be there because the bad connection. So.
Oh, that's true.
Oh,
yeah.
right. Punny. All right.
Makes sense.
Take it away, Nadia.
Okay, so, Dany 10. Dany sets what remains of Drogo's Khalasar to building a pyre for him. Argo and Rakaro kill a stallion for the pyre. Miri Mazdur tells Dany it will not be enough and that Dany does not know the spells for blood magic. Dany has her silenced. They pile Drogo's treasures on the pyre, but Dany saves her bride's gifts. Ser Jorah calls her princess, but Dany reminds him Viserys is dead and she is now his queen. Jorah thinks Dany means to die on the pyre with Drogo, but Dany assures him she will not. As the sun begins to lower to the west, Dany gathers her Khalasar and declares that they are all free, even the slaves. She names Argo, Drogo, and Rakaro as Goes, but they each say it is not possible for them to be Go for a woman. She takes an oath from Ser Jorah as well and names him the first of her Queen's Guard. Then Dany prepares herself with a scalding hot bath, and later she prepares Drogo for his journey into the Nightlands. Drogo is then placed on the pyre and oil is poured over it. Then Dany calls for her dragon eggs and places the black beside Drogo's heart, the green beside his head, and the white between his legs. As Dany climbs off the pyre, Miri Mazdur says Dany is mad. Dany has Ser Jorah bind Miri Mazdur to the pyre. She says Dany will not hear her scream, but Dany says, I will, but it is not your screams I want, only your life. I remember what you told me, only death can pay for life. Then they only have to wait for the first stars to come out. The first star is a comet, burning red, the dragon's tail. Dany lights the pyre and it is soon ablaze. Soon enough, Miri Mazdur begins to scream. The blaze quickly becomes too hot to withstand, and everyone backs away except Dany. Then she starts to step towards the fire. She thinks she sees Drogo in the fire, mounted on a stallion with a whip in his hand. With a loud crack, one of the dragon eggs lands at her feet, broken and smoking. Soon there is a second and a third crack. When the fire dies at last, Ser Jorah finds her among the ashes, with her clothes and hair burned away. 2 dragons are suckling at her breasts, and the third is draped across her shoulders. Ser Jorah falls to his knees soon followed by Argo, Drogo, and Rakaro, who claim her as blood of my blood. Soon every one of her Khalasar follows, and Dany knows they are hers as they were never Drogo's. As Daenerys Targaryen rose to her feet for the first time in hundreds of years, the night came alive with the music of dragons.
And dragons and misogyny.
Oh. Man, okay. Well done.
I have another theory.
Drop the mic and move on to Clash of Kings. Oh, wait a second.
I love the background face.
Is this anyone else's favorite chapter in the series? This is one of my favorites for sure.
That last line is
It's
beautiful.
pretty close.
Yeah. There's so many good things. There's she tells Miri Mazdur oh yeah, you will scream like fucking Batman. But the scene with when she names her blood riders and they're all like, this is awkward, Khaleesi. At least that's at least that's what they say in the audiobook. They're just I've got other shit to do and this isn't appropriate. In the I forget who it was who even says it's you shame me, being blood rider to a woman, I couldn't do that. And then immediately, we get to the end of the chapter and they're all like, oh fuck, dragons, this chick isn't killed by the fire, and they're like, oh yeah, I'm down on one knee, we're good, so sorry.
Yeah.
We just witnessed some shit.
Yeah. No one's gonna believe us, man. No one will believe this.
They're like, God, if you want me to follow him, just show me a sign. Alright, that'll do.
I'm gonna tell people I follow a woman and they're gonna be like, whatever. I'm gonna be like, dude, the dragons and the fire, and they're gonna be like, fuck you. I wish I had a camera.
I like when she tells Jar he'll have a Valyrian steel longsword. I'm just thinking in his head, he's going, I had one, I gave it up.
Totally forgot about that bit too. Like
Just like Longclaw.
The only thing ruining the gravitas of this chapter is how strong Jorah's manwood is. Like more than any other chapter, Jorah is laying it on too thick in this chapter. He's trying to run away to a shy. Like,
well,
why the fuck would Dany want to go to a shy?
This is his
the one
best.
where he kisses her, he's pretty manwoody hard in that
This
one.
is his best shot, though. Like,
He kisses her in this chapter.
Does he?
Does he?
I don't remember.
She kisses him
I'm sure he
on the lips when she names him to her Queensguard.
Right.
Well, that's different. The time that he took advantage of her and just like laid one on her, and she's like, "Whoa, he shouldn't have done that."
Yeah.
And he was like, "You were made for kissing." He's like, "Whoa, easy, Jorah.
But
Slow
you know
down."
what? Like, you can say whatever you want about Jorah, but he's into her. She reminds him of his old wife and all this, and he makes his move at the only point where he could possibly try to make a move, because Drogo's dead. He thinks she's just going to commit suicide. Let's go off. I mean, as soon as these dragons come out, it's a different world. So he took his shot when he actually had the best opportunity, and it didn't work out. But he tried.
But he waits until it isn't until in Clash that he actually kisses her, right?
No, I know, but he's like trying to get her to run off with him here, and I mean, this is the only.
Yeah,
he also took a shot with a 15-year-old.
Like, that's true.
Well,
yeah. Hey, in this world, you're an adult at like 16.
It's
or
a
something,
really hot 15-year-old.
Yeah, it's just she's really hot.
He's trying to bring her to a shy where she literally won't survive.
She's already a crone, guys. Yeah. She's already a crone. Let's not forget that.
I just listened to that World of Ice and Fire discussion the other day, and I like the points you guys made about why would you want to run off to a shy out of all places. It's very valid
nothing
point,
lives.
because I really don't. Yeah, that's not very romantic, is it?
He also says ET and and Lang, I think, or something like that.
Maybe he was just trying to get her as far away from Robert as possible, I guess.
Yeah,
because he kind of knew what was going
Yeah.
on. But it is still pretty dodgy.
Maybe it's just world exposition.
Yep.
Yeah, maybe George had no idea what was there when he wrote that.
Speaking of George and dodgy, his sex talk makes me creepy. Like, the last stab was for her sex. Irie's finger felt as light and as cool as a lover's kiss as it slid softly between her lips. What the?
That was...
God. That wasn't
so
as bad
creepy.
as last chapter when she tries to arouse Drogo.
Oh, yeah.
Using all of her body.
I feel like that was the saddest thing, though. Like, I think,
no.
even though it was creepy, it was still, like, the saddest thing.
I like how she decides if he can't get an erection for this, he's dead.
Yeah, it's creepy. It's more George writing. He does this like you would expect a middle-aged man to write this sort of stuff. But it's also effective to the point where we get that she's just her last-ditch effort and.
Yeah,
it's satisfying and creepy all at the same time, right? Like it's like it's like this really sad thing she's trying to do, but also you got to think about who's writing it, and I don't know. That's when just don't think too hard. I guess.
Would that be considered rape?
With what?
Yeah,
probably.
Yeah, it would be.
Of Drogo?
Yeah,
absolutely.
According to modern,
the tables have turned.
Because if you have a girlfriend, boyfriend, husband, whatever, and they're asleep and you wake them up, with a little something, like because they're into that ain't rape. That's just like a little morning foreplay, right?
Well, no, but it's the fact that his brain dead. There's no consent at all.
Right, but
it's just weird to do it to somebody who's not there. She thinks
he might be in there. And it's basically there's just no one at home. So this is kind of weird, but it's basically like she's just doing this to an inanimate object almost.
Yeah.
Right, because there was
that's not fucking okay.
I can't believe she didn't try it with her dragon's eggs. Just get right on top.
My gosh.
Oh my
god. Dang it, Brett.
I have a theory about where she puts the dragon eggs on the pyre.
Thank God.
She puts one over his heart. And it's the black one. And she puts one by his head, which I think is the white one, and she puts under his arm. Or maybe I got the white and the green mixed up. But she puts one on his head, one under his arm, and one over his heart. I think that represents that she'll keep the heart one for herself because she's the more feeling character, which is showing already in the series that Drogo is hers. The arm one, whichever it is, will end up going to Jon Snow because he's a fighter, and the head one will go to Tyrion because he's a thinker.
Why didn't she put one between his legs?
That could be it, but she puts one she puts one between his legs.
That one.
No, she does.
That's Jon.
That's Jon.
That's all three-legged Snow over there. All right. No, I don't know. That's
He's got two long claws.
The problem with looking for too many kind of weird connections at like this point in the books is that so much of this stuff he set up things, but he didn't really make as deep connections like that, like all these crazy theories and stuff. So something like if something like that were to come out, like it'd be like he just sort of used it later on, looking back. I don't think it's something he set up at this point, you know.
I think it could be. I think it could be one of those things that you'll look back and go, God damn, he had it in his head from way back then, and I could imagine that.
I think definitely means something because the one she places next to her heart, to his heart, is the black one, which she keeps for herself, right? Drogo is the one she starts fighting.
I think there's significance there, but I think for the other two writers, like I don't really think it's going to matter. I mean, if we even get them, right? Who knows?
Well,
it's the kind of thing, like, I wouldn't call it Ed.
Probably go to, somebody she'll end up with.
Daria.
He would be the one between the legs. No,
Victorian?
I don't think they're, I said Tyrion and Jon just because I like the Secret Targe stuff, but it could be anybody.
Brown Ben Plum.
I think it just represents someone who thinks and someone who fights that will get the other dragons.
That would be kind of cool if that's how it ends up.
I like it.
That would be cool.
Because
I could see that.
Because head, heart, and arm is very specific. Like why would he not do like one under each of his arms or something like that?
White Raven approves this theory.
But I don't know, maybe probably like, in Dany's mind...
It's been vetted. It's good.
In Dany's mind, she probably just like, I'll put one by the head, one by the heart, and the third one she was just like, fuck it, I don't know, I'll put it under the arm, whatever.
The arm is basically next to his heart.
Yeah, it's head, heart, underneath the arm, and in between the legs.
Yeah.
Well, that's 4.
No. The one that's next to his heart is tucked under his arm, like a football. An American football.
Right.
I still like the idea of Jon being the dick.
He's marking all of the favorite parts.
Yep.
No. So. The one in between the legs is Brown Ben Plum.
Because it's brown, and that's where the brown comes from.
Also, Jon is dead anyway and not coming back, so...
I don't know. I stand by my theory.
Which dragon is Quentin gonna ride?
He already rode the only dragon he was going to.
He is alive.
He's the head one.
Quentin is alive. That is
Nope.
That is canon.
Nope. Just because Bina said it doesn't mean it's canon.
It's
everything
canon.
Bina says is canon.
No, Preston Jacobs also says it's true.
Then it's not true.
Yeah. Because that guy's full of shit.
It's true if it's in like the first 30 seconds of the video, and then...
I really feel like he's trolling us sometimes.
I haven't watched any of his videos.
I love how crazy his videos get, and just the whole scientific method he does.
I think they're really entertaining, but like whenever someone references them in like a more serious speculation discussion,
such as these
this is not that.
Yep.
Does anybody else think the comet is important?
No.
Define important.
Comet is around
We'll see about
so long.
Do you think it brought back the magic or anything like that, or is it just a coincidence? I can't believe it's a coincidence.
Preston Jacobs thinks it's a satellite.
Oh, fuck.
Oh my fucking god.
Well, we already covered this actually on the Mad Max podcast. If you keep going west, you run into Mad Max World. So
Right.
That's
West of Westeros is Australia.
Yeah, it is known, and there you go.
It is not known.
No.
That might be my favorite Roy Dotrice line.
It is known.
It's just interesting that the comment, like, old Nan says it means dragons, and that is so weird because dragons are born the day the comet
Well,
is seen.
it means dragons
Does
because they
old Nan
came
say
from the
that?
moon, and that is a piece of the moon that just keeps coming back every so often.
Yeah, and even
No, I just-
OSHA says it means fire and blood, which is
Targaryen.
Targaryens.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's very interesting that it, like George said, old Nan's right on a lot of stuff, and the first thing she says is it means dragons.
Yeah, but John is always right. Does he say anything about it?
So did John get his powers from her?
Does John even talk about it? Can they see it at the wall?
He's whining about some random bullshit because he sucks.
Jesus.
Everyone else is looking at it, and he's looking at the ground, like wishing he could leave.
It's his hair.
like
No one likes
like Charlie Brown.
But we'll save that. We'll save that for the John chapter. But I do think the comet has to be significant in some way. But I don't know if it's a chicken or egg sort of thing. Like, is the magic bringing the comet around, or did the comet bring the magic around, or what's going on? And I don't think we'll ever get an answer. And I don't think we need one. Personally, I think I think it's just like if Tyrion's secret Targaryen. I mean, if he becomes the head of the dragon and we never get anything about that answered, I'm perfectly fine. You know, like it does. We don't need to know
Well, I think
necessarily.
It's more like Hail Bop, where all those people killed themselves and then got up into the spaceship. So
there's just so much blood sacrifice going on right now. It brought the magic back. Is that what it is?
Yeah.
Westeros.
I mean, those guys are up in the spaceship. For sure, right? They wore their purple Nikes, or black Nikes or whatever.
Soon, Matt. Too soon.
Dude, that was like 10, 20 years ago.
We're just getting around to OJ now, okay?
Do that.
Let's move on.
No, but what about the last comment on the meteor thing? I mean, or comment. I was just thinking that why does it have to have a specific meaning towards what's happening? Couldn't it just be like a herald of a new age or something like that? Maybe it doesn't even have a giant significance, and people just put significance into it. That doesn't have a reason to be there.
That does seem to be the case in that I don't think that the comet means, event A is going to happen, but if the comet happens to coincide with, like, all of a sudden the Red Priests have a shit ton of power and the dragons and all, like, if they're all connected, which seems to be suggested, then that would make sense. I don't think the comet's, like, there to oversee Dany and her dragons. Maybe this just all happens at the same time and it's a coincidence.
Yeah, I mean, in our actual history, like, comets were, like, the sign of the apocalypse, like, every time, like, or the sign of, like, was it Edward saw the three suns and they think it was a comet, and that's what gave them the victory on the battlefield. Constantine, converting to Christianity. Like,
oh yeah,
they can just like make up shit. It's like, oh, the comet like meant this because this thing just sort of happened.
History is full of things that we would consider coincidence, that people considered omens and very significant. Because they didn't understand them, or the timing was just perfect. Like, this is, a silly story, but, as a kid at church or something, and we had a rather large youth group, and they had a concert outside one day, and it ended up, there was, like, lightning, like, happening, and it's, like, right during, like, a certain riff, and you're like, oh, man, that must be, must be prophetic or something. Like, no, it's just the lightning happens to strike in the middle of a chord, like, big deal. Like,
yeah, I think Mark Twain was born and died while Halley's Comet was around.
Huh.
Yeah, something like that. I heard the same thing. That the next
Mark
time
Twain
it came around, he died. So
Illuminati. All right. So do we have anything else to say? I mean, this is a pretty significant chapter here. This is.
Do we want to talk about it coming this early in our reread rather than at the end of the book?
Yeah. Oh, I was going to save that for the end, but we can actually kind of touch on that here if you want. Just to say that.
No, we can do it at the end.
It's definitely. I mean, because this is normally this is the exclamation mark at the end of your read of this book, which is a good one. But I think the John chapter also works to that extent, which are not as good. I know, but like it's another riser. So, but
No, I always thought,
which I think they touched on the last reread, that like this book pretty much finished it could be a single book.
That'd be a pretty shitty single book.
Yeah.
I'd be like, well, what the fuck? What happened?
Oh,
well, yeah,
mean
but
Game
I
of
mean,
Thrones,
like
it just like Game of Thrones was it. You mean?
Yeah.
And,
Yeah, exactly.
Just,
like, I mean, obviously there's
50
storylines like that could go on, but pretty much like, you know, Rob's the king of the North, the end. Like, there's dragons, the end.
And 50 years later, people are like, well, obviously she got dragons back and came and took over the kingdom, you know? Like, right guys? Like, and everyone argues over what actually... That would have been an interesting fandom right there.
Yeah, it wouldn't have been... It would have worked. It's more interesting to get to continue, obviously, but it's...
Oh, yeah.
It wouldn't have been...
Sure. I think Dany's story works as a single book, but I don't know about Jon's.
Yeah, because Jon's story just doesn't work.
Well, they're out. They're going off to find Benjen, and they find him, guys, and he's totally not dead. And then
the White Walkers.
He's totally not Dario.
He's not Cold Hands. He's not Dario. He's not anyway.
The White Walkers were just nothing.
Everyone is Dario.
Oh, those White Walkers, yeah, you know.
They killed them both right there in the Solar. In,
that was it.
Ormond Solar. That was it. That was all of it.
Rises of it.
All right. So let's move on to Bran 7. And I believe that's you, Brett.
That is, in fact. Ready? All right.
Oh, boy. Let's do this.
So Sir Roderick is trying to teach the new recruits how to not fight like geese, while Luwin checks out the comet through his new telescope lens. And we learn that Winterfell and the surrounding areas are all tapped out of fighting men because they either went with Ned or with Sir Roderick. Rob. So Bran thinks if I still had my legs, he would beat them all, because, he was that good, I guess. He could beat full-grown adults. We learn that Bran can't count, because there's no way he beat Tommen 100 times while they were in Winterfell. And Bran wants to use Hodor for legs so he can fight. And Luwin explains that that's a bad idea, since you must be at one with mind and body to fight. And I call that BS, because if a knight can fight from a horseback, Bran could fight from Hodor back. And they just need to practice and train together. Then again, maybe Hodor is dumber than a box of hair and could not match the wits of his horse dancer. So Bran tells Luwin about his crow dream. He talks to his that he talked to his father in the crypt, and Ned was sad. And he said it was something about Jon, he thought. And Bran tells him that he tried to get Hodor to bring him down to the crypts to look for father, but he wouldn't go down, and he said he almost hit him. And then Luwin wises Bran to the age-old adage, don't beat the legs that carry you. And then Luwin explains that Ned is not down there, and he won't be for many years. Oh, we'll see on that one. And then Bran says he was there last night. Luwin sighs and gets Asha to carry him down into the crypts to show him that Ned's not there. Summer is reluctant to go down, but they go down anyway. And whenever the teacher decides a history pop quiz is in order and tells Bran to recollect the names and deeds of the old kings, which I won't go through because I don't know if they matter. And then Bran says that Rhaegar raped Lyanna, which I have two issues with. One, that he actually knows that kind of detail about the situation. He's just a little kid. And then if in fact that Ned knows that Rhaegar didn't rape Lyanna, why would he allow his kids to believe that? So that's kind of a argument for Ned not.
I don't think Ned.
Maybe they don't talk much about it.
Yeah, because Ned is just like mum's the word. Everyone else would have told them about it, but Ned.
Right. All right.
The other part,
and then
know about that shit. That's terrible.
Yeah, who tells a kid Rhaegar raped your aunt?
Dude, Bran's not a kid. He's almost a man grown.
Yeah, half the age of Rob, but he's almost a man grown.
Yeah, and
Rob just became a man grown.
Well, do you think he realized about rape after the whole tower thing, or is it?
Oh yeah,
or he doesn't remember that though.
No, but
he didn't understand what was going on.
Oh yeah, he might
Maybe
not.
He doesn't even know what he's saying.
He might be parroting something that he heard.
Yeah, it's like when you're a kid and you think that like words mean different things. Like I thought like when you got wasted, that just meant you were like really tired and didn't get enough sleep. So I'd be like, oh, I'm so wasted.
Yeah.
And people would look at me like, what? Like, yeah, I'm wasted right now, like, because I was exhausted. So, and then you get older and you like, well, oh, like, so maybe he thought rape just meant that he like kidnapped and killed her or something, or I don't know. Like,
Yeah. Yeah,
All right.
I think that's it.
So they hear something in the darkness, and Lewin's checking it out, and Scott attacks from the darkness and plays tug-of-war with Lewin's arm. Bran calls for Summer to help. Rickon calls Scott over to him and tells him to leave his father be. He explains that he had a dream too, and says that his father's coming home like he promised. Lewin bitches about Scott not being chained up, and Rickon does not give two shits about that. It's like, he doesn't like being chained up, leave him alone. So Bran decides they will all go hang out in Lewin's place, and Osha uses this moment to teach Lewin about who the Lord is in Winterfell right now. We learn that Lewin is a dirty bastard. His tower's kind of a pigsty, and everything's just laying all over the place in disarray. And he tries to convince them and himself that there's a logical explanation for their Siamese dreams. Osha is not helping. His magic is not real cause because she brings up the children of the forest. And Lewin says, the children only live in dreams. And then Osha must have been thinking, isn't that what we're talking about? No? And then Lewin tells Bran all the cool things the children could do, like they knew the songs of the trees, and they could fly like birds and swim like fish and talk to the animals and make beautiful music that would even make Sir Gregor cry. And he tells him to take a lesson that a man who trusts in spells is dueling with a glass sword, as the children did. He shows them the dragon glass and tells them about it, and Bran asks to keep one. And Rickon, because he's 4, thinks he should get 4. And Lewin remembers Bran never learned how to count, so he sees this as a teaching moment for Rickon, so he'll know that more than a handful is not half 100. And makes him count out his 4 razor blades that Lewin's going to let him play with, like a responsible adult always do with 4-year-olds. So then he goes on to give a Children of the Forest history lesson, that they lived in the 7 kingdoms and before the men came, and they carved faces into the trees so the green seers would be able to keep an eye on everything. And then 12,000 years ago, the first men came with bronze weapons and riding horses. They cut down the trees to build and burn. The children could not allow this, and declared war upon the men. They used magic to make the sea rise and swept away the arm of Dorne, but the first men still came across the sea. There was much blood, and the men began to overpower the children. Being stronger and better armed, the children didn't have much of a chance against them. They agreed on a peace summit in a weirwood on an island in the Great Lake called the God's Eye. They forged a pact giving the men most of the land, the coasts, the high plains, the bright meadows, mountains, and bogs. The children got the deep woods, and the men were no longer allowed to cut down the weirwoods. They carved faces in the trees so the gods could witness the pact, and the Green Man group was formed to keep watch on this new Isle of Faces. 4,000 years of peace followed, and the first men even took the old gods as their own, probably after they saw all the awesome shit they could do. And their cooperation with the children and their gods ended the Dawn Age and gave birth to the Age of Heroes. Then the Andals came, and they took the 6 southern kingdoms from the first men and put their weirwoods to the flame and killed all the children that they found. Only in the north did they hold firm by plugging the neck and throwing them back, so that all the children left fled north. And then a raven came that was hurt, and gave them news of Ned's death that they all secretly knew was coming. Ugh. And that's the end of the chapter.
So brutal.
I have a question. Why do you guys think that the Night's Watch got their raven before Winterfell? You think it's because it was wounded, it didn't make it fast enough? As fast?
Wow, that's interesting. Yeah, that could be it. It never occurred to me that it was weird that the Night's Watch got their raven first.
It didn't until we did this reread, to me.
Does the Night's Watch Raven specifically say that Ned is dead and not that he's just imprisoned?
I believe that's why Jon leaves, because they find out he's dead. And he's going to go help Robb in the fight, because he says in his chapter that his father's dead.
It could even be, I mean, we'll just, this is probably just me, justifying, but you can just say that they sent off the other Raven to the Night's Watch first,
Yeah, because why tell Winterfell?
Well, no, but I mean, like, maybe everyone's got
Yeah, who
those Night's Watch Ravens because they never use them. And you know how the Ravens work? You gotta wait for one to come back to you or something. So maybe they didn't have one to go to Winterfell at the time.
Do we know how the Ravens work?
Well, I thought
we do.
Yes,
they basically just go
actually,
from
we do.
one place to another, right? Like, so...
I think they're
They
carted
go-
back.
They
only go one
only
place.
go to
But
one
it's-
place.
John, wait,
No,
John's
no,
chapter
no.
hasn't really.
That's carrier pigeons.
Yes.
Carrier pigeons, you have to, like, cart from one place to another and they'll fly back home. But in
But
Westeros...
that's essentially how it works.
That's how the Ravens
In
work.
Westeros, I could have sworn they'll go back and forth. I thought that was the difference.
No, that's the whole
reason-
thing. But I think that's actually spoilers, isn't it?
Spoilers for what?
For what?
How the Ravens work?
Ravenry?
You think that's going to be a big deal in these books to come?
Yeah.
No, I'm just saying it's only described in the Winds spoiler chapter, right?
Oh, maybe.
Oh,
then.
it might be
I'm
only
trying to-
described in the Wind spoiler
yeah.
chapter.
I'm trying. Well,
So-
I got the idea somewhere.
Oh no,
I
don't give
know.
away this massive plot point.
Adam, I can't cite my source, but it's stuck in my head because I remember thinking that it was absolutely crazy that they have to be carted back and forth like carrier pigeons rather than going back and forth between two locations.
Yeah, because
It's
that's
true.
That's what I thought was the difference, was that the Ravens were a little bit better. Maybe I'm mixing something
That
up
makes-
on the
that
show
makes-
or something. Then it must be.
They said they don't use pigeons because they're too weak and they fall prey to other animals.
Yeah, fuck it, send 10 pigeons. Like,
Yeah,
it'll
but in
get
any case,
there.
that would make it less likely that they would have a Raven ready. Maybe they would have to send a message to someone else who would send a message to Winterfell. Whereas the Night's Watch was
Right.
just in King's Landing, and probably then Yoren would have brought ravens probably with him, right? And like that could have been sent right back, straight up from King's Landing.
I mean, I don't want to turn this into like Ravencast, the logistical issues of
I would like to
the
turn it
Ravens. But
Why not?
the Night's Watch in particular makes that like a ridiculous scheme. Like the Ravens that go to the Night's Watch only go to the Night's Watch, and vice versa. Like that means they have to cart the Ravens the whole length of the continent.
Yeah.
Well, they're always picking up new guys anyway, so maybe they're just dropping off ravens. Maybe Euron has a secret cache of ravens that he's just tolling around behind him.
Oh, that's it.
That we
You
never
changed
hear
my
about.
mental picture of Yoren.
He actually loves birds. That's why he smells so bad all the time. It's bird shit all over him.
Do you actually think that the ravens could fly from Dorne or from Old Town all the way up to the wall? Don't you think that it's more like a network? Don't you think more it's like a network, so they fly to maybe River Run or something further down, and then the message gets switched over to a raven that actually is programmed to go to the wall?
I don't think
Wouldn't
so.
that be
I mean,
a
if you're
huge
playing,
security breach?
if you're playing the
That's
Game
true.
of Thrones, you're not into that.
No, but then you need a rider instead. I mean, you can't. I'm just saying it would be very unlikely that a raven would fly from all the way down from Dorne all the way up to the wall. I mean,
You don't realize that birds actually traverse long distances all the time?
oh yeah, they do. Oh yeah, they certainly do. But it's not like a thing that would. You won't be sure that they actually reach there, and you wouldn't be sure that they actually reach there in a timely manner.
Yeah, but especially for like announcements and just saying like, "Hey, there's a new king" or some shit to the Night's Watch, so you don't really care. That's like whatever. You send it out, if it doesn't get there, you're like, someone else will tell them, right? It's better than sending a person.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
One thing I noticed in this chapter is that I would be pissed if I was either one of those other two guys that got savaged by Scott before Lewin. Like, they're just letting that dog savage people. Like, what Lewin?
It's not a dog, it's a wolf.
But it's a direwolf.
Even worse. It's a direwolf. Lewin's arm is described as like ragged and bloody. Like, potentially he could die of infection from that animal bite. And
Well, everyone knows that a dire wolf's mouth is a lot cleaner than
Lewin's
human's
mouth.
So when you get like 2 or 3 emails from a person because they're emails malfunctioning or something. Could you imagine how annoyed you'd be if you got the same message from 10 pigeons?
Yeah. Or if you're at Castle Black and a bunch of ravens show up with no messages on them.
No message at all.
Darkwing Star.
One is like, Helen, I've done something to the new Dropbox. Come take a look. You're like, what?
One thing I could say is, like, reading this chapter, it's been a year or two since I've read it, and my son just turned 4, and so, like, you know, I'm like thinking, like, oh my gosh, he's, you know, at the same age as Rick on there, and I'm like, oh, this would be like, it's like even more depressing than this chapter usually is. You know, like poor Rickon's like, yeah, I know he's not coming back, and you're like, oh, Rickon King.
Yeah, he won't be for forever, and winter is coming.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's got to man up, right? Doesn't Ned say that in like one of the first chapters?
He was only 3 then too.
Yeah, he was only 3. Yeah.
But he has to
Damn,
go.
Ned. Ned's got no patience.
There was one quote that really stuck out to me in this chapter, and it was when Bran was talking about trying to get Hodor to go down into the crypt, and Hodor didn't want to. And Maester Luwin says to him, Hodor is a man, not a mule to be beaten. And I think that's very kind of telling for the rest of the story. Bran keeps treating Hodor kind of like an animal, especially when he starts warging into him and stuff, and I think that's really morally kind of ambiguous.
And that was Master Luwin's other quote, was basically, if you want to fight from Hodor's back, you basically have to be one with his mind and body. Which basically happens later when Bran walks into his mind.
Yeah, this chapter confirms it for me. Bran is going to be doing some full-on Hodor warging.
But he'll never jack off as Hodor because you don't beat him.
Oh my god.
Jesus Christ.
Well, the question remains, though. I mean, everyone assumes that we're going to see Bran becoming part of the werewood net because that's what's happened to Bloodraven, but I don't know if that's necessarily true. We do see that wargs or skin changers take over someone else, you know, like just like now I'm this wolf, but then he starts losing himself in the wolf. So I wonder if it's even possible to just take over another person and completely eject their personality, and is that something Bran would attempt, you know, because he's so desperate to have his legs back.
Yeah, didn't
Didn't
they actually do that in the
well,
book?
Well, he kind of wants.
No, he tried to go into.
He feels like he
she
wants
bit off
to,
her own
but,
tongue.
you're talking. Yeah, I was talking about Bran. I mean, I think if Bran becomes powerful enough, like, do you think that's a possibility?
Oh yeah,
it's an abomination.
And part of it is that Hodor is not like a normal person that is going to be as self-aware. So maybe he would be easier to take over.
Well, doesn't he try to take over Mira at some point, and she like flips the fuck out?
Oh, what?
What?
What? No, what? When did that happen?
It must have been your dreams.
Hodor and he freaks out.
I thought that was like one of the last chapters of Bran. I don't remember.
There's this guy, what's his face?
No, that's Varamir Sixskins.
Yeah, he
tries to take the old lady, and she flips the fuck out.
Yeah, she bites off her own tongue.
Yeah,
and rakes her own eyes.
For some reason, I have a very strong memory of him doing that to Mira, but I don't
think that happened.
I think, are you thinking about, like, he, like, tries to physically comfort Mira, and she's not about that?
Maybe that's it. I don't know. I don't remember.
Yeah, because I'm not. I don't remember it exactly like that.
I would say I love her or something. So
no,
maybe
what
he's
I remember
is work into Hodor and get some strange.
Yeah. Do you think that's gonna happen? Because I kind of have the feeling that he would step over the line because he's like preteen and he doesn't know exactly what he's doing.
I'm so scared that it's going to happen. I really don't want it to, but yes, Patrick, I agree. I think that's going to happen.
I don't know. Hodor's got giant's blood in him. Poor Mira.
Yeah, man. He's gonna break Mira in half.
Well, hopefully.
I don't think that'll ever happen.
I don't think it'll actually happen, but like the thought might cross his mind or something. But as long as that just doesn't actually come up.
Yeah, I mean,
like, whatever.
She wouldn't. I mean, it would be unwanted. It would probably be rape, right?
No, well, I feel like if it's something that comes up and like it wouldn't, like, I don't think that George would have Bran do that with her unwillingly, just No. That,
It
no,
does kind of
no.
seem like something George would, though.
Like, well, it's
I know,
something he would
because the
write.
evidence against it.
It's something he would write, but do you think he would
pretty
write
weak.
it for Bran, is what I'm saying. Like, it just doesn't feel like it fits Bran. But
Yeah.
Unless Bran becomes evil. I mean,
unless he's, unless he's being influenced by, Blood Raven.
That's kind of what I was.
Well, I feel like it's right. It's in Bran's crossing the line with his warging abilities arc. It's right along that trajectory that he spends too much time in summer, and then he wargs into Hodor, and he doesn't understand what sort of invasion that is.
yeah.
What I could see being feasible is he takes over Hodor. Maybe he is, he's talking to Mira or something, or he becomes quite good at it, and he, just like goes in for the kiss or something, and she's like, "What the hell?" I could see that.
He
Okay,
points at Bran, Hodor, and then points at his chest, Hodor.
No, but I mean, maybe he's so good at it. Maybe he's so good at it that he actually can
so
produce
charming.
speech, is what I'm saying.
Well, doesn't Varamir warg into the woman wolf and loves getting mounted from behind by one eye?
Yeah,
Didn't you say that?
Varamir's a freak.
I don't know if he loved it, but he said he
Nadia.
experienced
The
it.
instincts or whatever, I think, were
Varamir has 3 direwolves that he
They're not direwolves. They're just wolves.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
3 wolves.
Because they specifically says I should have taken his direwolf. That would be a second life fit for a king.
Yeah.
Yeah. But
The reason I brought up
Foreshadowing. That's foreshadowing.
all right.
The reason I brought up the Bran stuff is because like I said, it's kind of morally corrupt to be warging into Hodor, and does that mean
Kinda.
that maybe he won't understand the morals behind some other stuff that he does later?
I think you're right in a sense. I think that that Varamir is the example that we're supposed to take from when we think about Bran and his descent into what it's essentially absolute power over living beings.
Right.
That will corrupt in a sense. I mean, maybe not corrupt, but he won't see that what he's doing is wrong until it's too late.
That could happen.
Right,
Yeah.
and he's also very young, so it's
I don't think it's this morally slippery slope, though, like we're thinking, because what he's doing with Hodor is what he does with him in real life. It's, Hodor is a tool. Like Hodor is his buddy and stuff, but Hodor is his legs, Hodor does this, Hodor do this, Hodor do that, right? So, the guy doesn't really have a mind of his own, so yeah, of course, he'll just take it over. But he would never just try that with Mira in real life. He wouldn't do anything I don't think that he feels that he's already entitled to do as himself.
Let's hope not.
yeah.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna say what I was gonna say because it's too far in the future in the books and it's not really related to this, so I'm gonna stay quiet. Well, it's just
That's a good attribution.
Thanks for letting us know you aren't going to tell us something.
Moving on.
Guys, don't worry about it.
A white
I'm gonna
raven
reveal
first.
that later.
All right.
Do you want me to say what I was gonna say? Because it really
Say it,
pertains
say
more to
it. Say it.
Storm
Now
with
you
swords
have
and
to,
dance with.
so.
No, that's fine. Get it out.
If I don't like it, I'm just
here
going to
we
call
go.
it anyway.
Yeah. Okay. He kind of he's not in Ghost, but Jon feels him when he first jumps into Ghost, and Bran actually opens his third eye. Like he's sleeping, Jon is sleeping, and Bran is in his dream, and he opens his third eye. Then he's seeing through Ghost's eyes. He sees the camp. So
I remember what you were talking about.
So
I
Bran
thought-
is kind of invading other people.
I thought that Jon warged into Ghost, and Ghost saw a werewood that had Bran's face.
So Jon is doing something sort of similar. He's having a wolf dream, which it seems like is the precursor to active warging.
Yeah.
And he sees a weirwood with Bran's face.
Yeah.
And Bran does sort of the same now your third eye is open magic that Blood Raven does to Bran.
That might be Bran in the future,
I'm increasingly a believer in Bran from the future interacts with the main storyline theory. I actually really don't like it as a theory, but like the linear reread is like, I keep seeing things that I'm thinking, oh, that's Bran from the future. Bran from the future is an active player in the current storyline. Blood Raven.
So you're saying maybe Bran sends back the wolves?
I'm with you. Yeah, Bran sends back the wolves.
Yeah.
I mean, because Blood Raven could easily have done most of that. So, and either way, it doesn't matter. I don't know.
See, that's why I didn't want to get started.
Yeah.
There's an interesting post on the A Song of Ice and Fire subreddit today about the event that crippled Hodor. Was the event that crippled Hodor orchestrated by Blood Raven or Bran from the future in order
he's
to
not
create,
crippled.
Not crippled, sorry, crippled his mind, yeah. Handicapped. In order to give Bran, this useful man who can carry him into the North.
No.
I don't believe it.
But was it an event,
it brought up some
or
good
was
information.
Was that just sort of how he was?
Yeah,
Was he born? Was he born dim-witted?
I always thought he was just born that way.
I thought he was.
He reached into the womb and just took his brains away.
Oh my gosh.
there are
Butterfly effect style.
We've already seen him messing with direwolves inside the womb. Why not?
I mean, there are some things that can do that to a person, like hydrocephalus, where you get water in your brain and things like that can do it after birth. But the vast majority of that stuff is congenital.
Yeah.
Yeah, he has aphasia, so he can't, like, it's an actual, like, thing that happens to people where they can only express themselves in, like, one word.
Yeah.
He picked a bad word.
That's true. Not even his name.
Oh, it could be worse.
Right, well, what does Hodor even mean? Maybe
It's supposed to mean Walter. It's supposed to mean Walter.
Yeah.
Hodor. I think it's supposed to be Walter.
All right. So.
Welcome to the podcast on the etymology of Hodor.
Yeah, I think we're done with the Bran chapter, I believe.
Yeah.
All right. Any final thoughts?
I was trying to.
No, good.
I was trying to figure out a way to work in. You ain't got no legs, Lieutenant Bran.
Well, there it is. You forced it. All right.
You worked it in.
Well done.
All right, and this brings us to the end of Game of Thrones, at least in the linear sense. And that is the final Jon chapter. And here to bring all the Jon love is Tanja.
Yeah, so in this chapter, Jon decides to shit on everything Aemon told him at the end of the last chapter, and tries to desert from the Night's Watch, and of course fails. Sam, being a much better friend than Jon deserves, tries to stop him, but Jon, being a dick, all but rides him down. This incident, of course, confirms him being a prophet because, I quote, "At the last moment, when they were almost on him, he jumped aside as Jon had known he would, stumbled and fell." Prophecy. So yeah, Jon knew that Sam would jump aside, stumble, and fall, and he does it anyway, because he's such a great friend. Awesome character, very likable. Even though he didn't want Longclaw in the first place, he's now moping about how abandoning it was really hard for him. He also whines about being a bastard, an oathbreaker, motherless, friendless, and damned, even though half of those things are just consequences of him acting the way he does, so it kind of seems fair, but whatever.
Wait,
instead
what?
of letting,
why?
Huh? Because he's an oathbreaker. No one made him an oathbreaker, and no one made him friendless. He's like, I'm gonna go leave my friends. I'm gonna go break my oath. Oh no, I'm an oathbreaker and friendless. Oh no, terrible.
Motherless?
No, that one. I said he had half of it coming, not all of it.
Oh.
He didn't.
She said half,
he didn't deserve
right?
that one.
Okay,
Pay attention. No, he doesn't deserve all of that, to be fair. But
my mother died. Well, you had it coming. It was when I was born.
Yeah.
Well, technically, some characters in the book would probably argue that he.
That's what
killed
Tywin
her,
does.
but-
Tywin.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
So, anyway, instead of just letting Jon get away with his bullshit, Sam goes and tells their friends about it, so they catch up with him, which is a little bit surprising that they were faster than him, because there's like 7 of them and he's on his own and he's also trying to be quick and clearly not doing a very good job at it. But yeah, so they catch up with him,
Ghost helps them find Jon. And Jon calls Ghost a traitor, which is quite funny, seeing as Ghost is not the one breaking his oath and abandoning his friends, but his friends recite the vows, which is actually a pretty awesome moment, despite Jon being present. And they convince him to stay back, which kind of makes it look just never wanted to leave in the first place and just wanted the attention, which he got, but that's 10 minutes of my life wasted reading about it and it's not going anywhere.
Wow.
He still says he's planning on trying to leave again. And so he goes back to the wall, and the next morning he brings Mormont his breakfast, and it turns out that Mormont, of course, knew that Jon would run away, and he informs him that if he hadn't come back with his friends, he would have been caught anyway. So that was even more pointless. But yeah. Mormont tells Jon that there have been some news about wildlings hatching some sort of plan, and some animals apparently fleeing from something that's beyond the wall. And he says he wants to find Benjen dead or alive, so the Night's Watch will ride out and force against the wildlings and the others. And he'll be commanding them, and he wants to take Jon with him as a squire. That's sufficiently entertaining for Jon, so he decides not to join Robb and fight in his war after all, and just go and hang with Mormont instead, because he's doing more fun stuff, and he gets to keep on clock.
I think Mormont gives the best line of... I think Mormont gives the best line of the series when he says, "When dead men come hunting in the night, do you think it matters who sits the Iron Throne?" And that is encapsulates the whole series of them fighting in the South for no reason.
That's true. Yeah.
It kind of sucks.
So Ghost scaring his horse is definitely Bran, right?
No.
Bran, Benjen, or Bloodraven, one of the other.
But isn't that stupid actually for George to say that? Because yes, it does matter who sits the Iron Throne.
Well,
if it's an idiot sitting the Iron Throne, then there won't be any support from the rest of the realm.
Yeah,
it would help.
The point is, whoever's on the Iron Throne just needs to handle their shit if something goes down, and it doesn't really matter what house it is. No one gives a fuck. If it's the end of the world, you fight the apocalypse together.
Yeah, the true threat is in the north, and they'll just barrel roll down to the Iron Throne regardless.
They already built the wall to keep these dang wildlings out, so they thought they were safe, but clearly the wall doesn't help anything. America.
Gotta make it 10 feet higher.
Oh boy.
Make the wildlings pay for it.
Yeah. Jesus Christ.
I think it's interesting that... Go ahead.
Maybe part of the point is also just not wasting resources on trying to figure out who's... Of course, it kind of matters who's sitting on the Iron Throne, but don't waste any resources on trying to be that person when all
when you have three armies that could be fighting the others rather than themselves, I think is what he meant.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I think it's interesting that Mormont had men watching Jon, and Jon never noticed, so maybe he wasn't Ranger material after all.
Maybe Jon ain't that
Maybe
type.
He's not a prophet after all.
Oh, I do have him being a prophet.
Oh, no.
Jon can't see Robb smile. Jon can't see Robb smile because he's a prophet, and that never happens.
Or maybe,
my God.
Or maybe George is just bluffing. Maybe he's just bluffing. So yeah, I totally knew you were gonna do that. So watch out. I'll catch you next time. Promise.
He might be. That hadn't occurred to me, but that's possible.
I was just thinking how good that shows how good a Lord Commander he is. He knows his men. He's like, what do you think, I'm stupid?
Yeah.
And then he's followed up by perhaps his biggest folly, so leading the ranging.
Yeah.
I like it when he calls it Age of Oriole Stark.
Well, I think leading the ranging was a really good idea given the information he had. I think he was a bit more ambitious with it than he should have been, perhaps, but I think a big part of it was he thought, well, this is going to be a quick scouting party, I'll go look for my men, and I've got a whole shit ton of people that don't have any experience that are going to need it pretty soon. And so I get them out there, they get confidence, if we're getting more men, they're able to train them, etc., etc. Otherwise, you just have a bunch of rookies.
I thought it was just to, hit the wildlings. I didn't think it was to, train men or do anything else.
He was looking he was looking to see what happened to Benjen, and of course he assumes there's, a small wildling group he can take care of or figure out what's going on, which is important. But at the same time, I think he also realizes that a lot of these people have never seen combat, and the dead are rising, so maybe now's the time. Throw them in the deep end and get a little experience.
Well, it's also telling in the next book when Jon is like, well, why aren't we sending out parties to find Benjen? He's like, well, it's easier for one man to find 300 than for 300 to find one. So maybe by going out, he's hoping Benjen will find them and tell him what's going on.
Sure.
But he says we'll go out in force against the wildlings, against the others, with what, 300, 500 men in total, I think?
300. No, I think it's 300
so
in
300
total.
And then joined by 200 from the Shadow Tower, right?
I thought they were bringing 2 and 100 were coming from the Shadow Tower.
That's
I'm
what I
probably
thought,
wrong.
But you could be
Well,
wrong.
100 might also be coming from Eastwatch.
Okay, but anyway, it's like, but there are 100,000 wildlings? Even if they're not well organized, it's still...
Well, they don't know that, though.
I'm saying...
They have no clue that they're going to run into even a group of 1,000 wildlings, right?
Well, yes, but they do know the others are coming.
Well,
They do.
Yeah, but they don't have a good idea of what that really means either. They've been attacked by 2 whites.
who were their own men, and they're like, what the fuck? Like, they at this point, they know almost nothing.
Right.
I mean, I think
you
it's
guys think...
Which is then the good idea to take a ranging of that many people out if you don't know what you're up against. Because, I mean...
Well,
that's why they're taking that many out,
exactly.
because they figure somebody will make it back that way and give them information. Because they've been sending out ranging parties and nobody's coming back.
It's just strength. It's strength by
yeah,
numbers.
like 5 people.
If you're sending out an expedition, you send 2 or 3 people out. They don't come back. You send 50, just to be safe.
I agree. You send 50 and not 500.
Well, I'm saying proportionally, though. Like, he maybe was just like, well, maybe this is just him overestimating the threat. We got the dead rising. We got wildlings. I want to bring as much as I can, and he thinks that it'll be no problem. And he's probably being overly cautious in his mind.
It's like the American invasion of Iraq, where they said we need 500,000 people, and we only sent like a quarter of that.
Yeah, but he actually sent 500 out. And
no, he sent 300, right?
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure it's 300.
With 200 in
I think they had 2 from Castle Black and 1 from the Shadow Tower.
Came from Sparta?
I think it was. Oh yeah, I'm not quite sure. But
Either way, even if it is 300, that's quite a large proportion of
it's
the
like almost
total
half
strength of the Night's Watch.
That's true.
It's a third, but it's the thing is the whole thing with the Night's Watch. You have not even a third is Rangers. Maybe like it's I don't know, a fifth of them are Rangers. I wouldn't know specifically. The point
Whatever it is far less than it used to be.
Yeah, but the Rangers are the only ones who's actually been training to go out ranging, to go out and fight in the terrain, while the other ones are just trained in sword combat and defending the wall. So taking a 300 force strong man force or out to range, where most of them don't have any experience in ranging at all, just seems like he's kind of.
Isn't that why you take so
waiting.
many, though?
Yeah, it's more of a moving camp than a ranging.
Yeah, but you don't. Personally, I would say even if you, especially because you don't know what's out there.
But that's why they're taking so many, so they can deal with what's out there.
Yeah, I guess it's just different schools of thought, because there are two schools of thought would be just take everything and just deal with it with force, and then you're safe and you don't have to worry about it, which is kind of what he did, or just keep sending out small parties. And that's going to take longer, especially if they never come back. So maybe he's just like, fuck it, let's get this done. Time is of the essence.
Just send bigger, small parties instead.
Well, I mean, isn't that the state of the Night's Watch, where they're not knights and they're not, they're rapers and thieves rather than like trained warriors?
Yeah.
Do you guys think if Ned had been there, Mormont would have still led the raging, or let Ned like command the ranging? Or do you think Ned would still be in training?
Either way, it's a win. It's a win for the Watch because either Ned leads the ranging or gets left behind
to command it.
Yeah, and is a much more electable Lord Commander than Snow.
Well, he would have done well with ice.
yeah. Since Snow is elected, they're both electable. It's just competence is maybe.
Well, also you have like if Ned was still alive, all the reasons why Snow would want to march on Winterfell wouldn't be there, essentially. So yeah, it'd be a good idea if Ned were there. That would be good.
They still would have taken Jon on the ranging. Do you think he'd still be the steward to Lord Mormont? There's so many ifs, it doesn't matter. Let's just
I think we can all agree that at the beginning of this book, when Ned is offered Hand of the King, he should have just joined the Night's Watch, and that would have solved a lot of problems.
Well, he would have.
Hand of the King. I'm joining the Night's Watch. Sorry, I gotta go.
The only way to get out of this is by joining the Night's Watch. He could have just, that's one line in the book, he could have written it in, George, and it would have justified the decision.
Yeah.
But you screwed the
Come on, Jon, let's go.
But then
he's got 4 sons and a couple daughters. His inherited, his heirs are okay.
I mean, he's only 28 or something, or 31. He's so young in the book.
He's really young.
But you see, that's the problem. Then we wouldn't have 23 years of and 5 books of pure awesomeness, because then most of the problems would have already been over. I mean, except for
yeah, but we don't have a conclusion yet. Yeah.
He would have just wrote the problems a different way.
I think Stannis would have rebelled against the kingdom because he already had an idea that Joffrey was a bastard.
Who?
Stannis. He said.
Stannis. As soon as the king died, he was like, "Oh, I'm the king now."
He and Renly probably would have teamed up and taken over. Didn't Renly try to give Eddard a whole bunch?
Why would they do that? They didn't in the books.
Yeah, Renly and Stannis were never teaming up to do shit.
Unless Stannis bent the knee to Renly.
Yeah, which he's not going to do.
I don't think Renly would have been as bold without all these other people rebelling. I think he would have just served under.
Dude, he was off. He was the first one.
He was peacing out.
Well, Stannis was the first.
Stannis was gone, and he saw it was coming, and Renly's like, "Hey, you should just support me for this shit." I mean, I think there's a scenario where Renly gives in, but it's not at all the way things went down with Jon Arryn's death and all that. That's not conducive to Stannis being, it.
Yeah.
Maybe if this was 10 years later or something in Jon Arryn.
I think we specifically need to do a what if, seriously, what if Ned was at Wall? What if Loras was killed by the Mountain? Stuff like that. Small things that might actually change the whole narrative completely.
Send a ripple.
That's what I was thinking.
Yeah, I think it would be interesting.
Because there's something, I think there's a Call to Arms already about, a what if, doing a what if cast.
Or where are they now or something.
Yeah.
Well, because I think someone's mentioned a what if, and I think one of the listeners was like, hey, is anyone doing this? And I want to be on it. So that's just a whole long cast of just what half of what we do, I guess, on these is just well, what if? But it will be fun. So what do we think? Just getting back on topic. What do we think of this chapter and the way the book ends on this chapter? And you're done with the book now. How does that feel versus the normal book, and how do we feel the reread? Just in general, has it changed your view of things? Have you every time I reread, I notice things, but I know thinking about the fact that these are sequential events now has also brought some new perspective.
I would say it feels like it's less magical ending than if Daenerys is the last one. I mean, it feels more like it's a military campaign we're looking forward to in the Clash of Kings, rather than how it ends with Daenerys being we I kind of felt like she was finally living up to some sort of fate or prophecy, something that might be coming. Something more.
But at the end of the Bran chapter, isn't it like I have to do something or I'll die?
What?
Bran chapter?
At the end of the Bran chapter, the last line of the Bran chapter is Maester Luwin says, "We will have to find a stone carver who knew his likeness well."
I think it.
Okay,
close enough.
that's me reading the wrong
because Dany keeps saying, if I look back, I'm lost. I have to move forward. That's maybe a combination of those things.
I think maybe if it was like ended with Dany, but then this Jon chapter was an epilogue chapter, it'd be okay.
Yeah, it's not as exciting, but you know what? I think that having this chapter after the Dany one, I think a better order than Dany, Bran, Jon would have been Bran, Dany, Jon. And you can call the Jon chapter an epilogue if you want, because it hones in the theme of, we opened with the others.
Yeah.
And then the last chapter is, hey, Jon, fuck your brother, fuck the Game of Thrones. Like, we gotta go do this others shit up here. Like, remember that from the prologue?
Yeah.
When dead men come hunting in the night, you do think it matters who sits the Iron Throne.
Correct me if I'm wrong here, but to me, it kind of feels like ending on the Jon chapter is sort of like watching a TV show, and it's like you're waiting till next week, and like this is they're going out next week. It feels like the ending of an episode of a TV show, which is still pretty good. It still works as the ending of the book. It's satisfying in a way, but ending on the Dany chapter feels like the ending of an epic movie, where you're like, what? Like it's got the big twist. It's got like, what is going on? And then you're like, oh man, it's gonna be 2 years till I see the sequel or something. Like,
yeah, I would agree more if Dany had a larger Khalasar, but I kind of feel the same way about Dany's chapter because she only has like 100 people, so it's not like she can hatch the dragons and that's the conclusion to her story. Like she has to do something else with those dragons. She has to go, get the rest of the Dothraki, or she has to go reclaim the Seven Kingdoms. She has to do something else before she's really got closure.
No, definitely. But you're talking about like an epic movie, like like Lord of the Rings, and then it cuts out, and then it scrolls over, and you see like, oh, they did 2 towers, and they still got to finish this journey, and you're like, oh crap, you know what I mean? It's real big.
So more movie TV than cliffhanger ending. Yeah. I agree.
I liked having Jon's chapter at the end because it kind of. You see all this amazing, magical, fantasy-type stuff happening with Dany, and then you get pulled back to, hey, shit's still fucked up, and we still gotta solve it over here, It reminds you that there's more to come.
It's like real human stuff.
Yeah.
I did like whoever it was said the parallel between the epilogue and the, epilogue, it's not an epilogue, Jon's chapter and the prologue. I like the bookends like that. Whoever said that was good.
Yeah, wraps it up nice.
How do we feel about the end of Game of Thrones here? Are we excited for Clash of Kings?
Yes.
Yeah, of course.
And I assume. Just a note for everyone.
I think I'm done. I don't think I'm even going to read the next book.
Oh, well, with no White Raven, no one's going to join us. I don't know what we'll do.
Oh, no. We just lost all of YouTube.
Yeah, we lost those 2 White Raven fans.
Except
But I will say we don't know exactly what we're going to be doing for the next podcast. Well, we do, kind of, but we will most likely be taking a break when Game of Thrones starts. I think we're going to get into Clash of Kings before then, at least a few episodes, and we might put out a couple episodes while Game of Thrones is airing, but that just sort of depends on how everyone wants to do. So I know we're a little backed up right now. But
backed up.
Yeah, we're like ahead of ourselves on. We've got like several of these that haven't been published, I think, at this point. But that's okay, it happens. So anyone following at home, keep reading. Come join us on the forums if you want to, get an idea of what's happening, when we're going to cover what next. And
where are the forums, Adam?
The forums? Oh, I'm not going to tell them where the forums are. I've already told them 3 times in other episodes. Maybe you can tell them. Where are they?
They're at I Google search APOIAF forums, and then they pop right up because they're in my
he's making
history
it complicated.
a lot. But
it's the podcast of Ice and Fire. There we go.
No, it's a podcast of Ice and Fire, isn't it?
It's,
yeah.
But it's the podcast.
.com/forums.
Search for Podcast of Ice and Fire. It'll be there.
Yeah. Pretty much. So there you have it. So I want to thank you guys for joining me, and I want to tell Skype to go to hell because it needs to burn. I have like 10 recordings that I'm going to have to edit now. And that's it. So.
Perfect.
Like, comment, and subscribe.
No. Rate us on YouTube, on iTunes, though. Even if you give us a shitty rating, I don't care. Just rate that shit.
This is a perfect point for me to jump in then. If you don't want to wait a month for episodes, join the forums, and you can just get on the call. You just be on the episode if you want to listen. That's the only reason I'm here. I want to listen to these shits a week early.
Because they're on iTunes like way sooner. It's just
are they?
They're not on
even sooner than iTunes.
Yeah, they're on iTunes way sooner.
What's it called? VOKpodcast.wordpress.com.
Yeah.
So
do that
stuff.
As of this moment, there are like 3 or 4 episodes that are out on the WordPress that are not out on iTunes or YouTube.
I think they're out on iTunes, no?
Maybe
on the
are.
WordPress, right.
Yeah.
I get notifications when new episodes show up on iTunes, but I know Bina posted on the forums today multiple Black Dahlia 1, Mad Max.
Yeah. You know, those will be.
I haven't gotten.
Those will all
if those are out on
day
YouTube.
After each other, kind of.
Yeah.
But that's kind of an.
I think Mad Max is on YouTube, but Black Dahlia will probably be a few days.
Yeah.
To make sure, like, comment, subscribe on YouTube. Find us on WordPress, VOK WordPress, or on the Podcast of Ice and Fire forums.
Donate at your local
on
Vessels
iTunes.
of Kingsgrave chapter.
Yeah, just find us there.
Give $20 to Patrick if you want to join.
We've got a
have an
GoFundMe, a Patreon, a Kickstarter.
No,
Anyway.
but you could send me a nice mail asking me if you can join. It won't matter at all. But
if you're joining,
but he'll appreciate it.
If you're joining because of an episode that you heard and Patrick was in it, please send all fan mail to him.
Yes,
You'd
please.
love to know. Yeah.
It's important.
And for now, thank you. Thanks,
guys.
Yeah.
Thanks.
I don't thank
Thank you
anybody.
for hosting it.
Thanks, Adam, for
You're
hosting
welcome.
and editing this shit show.
I hate you all.
Thank you, Adam.
Indeed.
Thank you, Adam.
Thank you, Adam.
Yep.
And the end.